This material is made available to you by or on behalf of the University of Melbourne under Section 113P of the Copyright Act 1968. It may be subject to copyright. For more information, visit the University Copyright website.
All right, let's start. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to ABPL 90275, Property Resources and Management. It's very good to see some familiar faces amongst some new faces. Good. First, about myself, I am Kusal Nanayakara. Kusal, PhD student. I is about to finish. I have submitted my thesis and waiting for the outcome. So hopefully it will come in a few weeks' time. So then I'm done with the PhD. Right. Working as a casual academic lecturer and a tutor. And I have experience in the industry for 7 years. Worked in a property development company and worked as a valuer as well for 3 years. And I have done some researches for the University of Auckland in New Zealand too, when I do my honors. Yeah, right. How this subject will run. It's basic information. I will explain how this course will run and then move to the basic introduction part. Right. So normal lecture session, 2-hour lectures each week. There are some courses, 8-hour lectures per week. Some of you have experience, but this is the normal regular lecture. 2-hour lectures each week, today. And 1-hour tutorial, there are 2 tutorials scheduled. There's another tutorial class, but it's not open yet. I don't think we need it. At the moment, there are 2 tutorials, 5:15 to 6:15, next building, Alice Hoy 333. And the other one is 6:15 to 7:15, same building, second floor, 2-3. So this class finished at 5:15 and the tutorial start at same time 5:15. Have to run. Right? For this week, no tutorial. So just the lecture. Tutorial starts from next week, from week 2. Right? So after lecture you can relax. I understand everyone wants to go to the tutorial just after the lecture. So I don't mind, but make sure there are enough space for the students who have signed in for that tutorial first. Right. So please make sure you are attending this tutorial, you are signing. And lecture slides and tutorial sheets will be posted on LMS the evening before the session. I'll try to do it before that, but that's how it will work before. Right, that's my part. And what is your part? You are expected to attend all lectures and tutorials. Right. And engage with materials and participate in class discussions. This is recorded. And even in the lecture, I will do some exercise in the class, so I expect you to participate actively. Right. And complete all assessment tasks. There are 2 assignments. I'll come to that now. Assessments. There are 2 assessments. There are 3 assessments, 2 assignments, plus final examination. All the assignments are individual assignments. There are no group assignments for this subject. Assignment 1 weighs 20% of the whole course and is due on Friday the 27th September 2019, which is week 9. So you have plenty of time to finish that assignment. But don't wait till last moment, please. You can start now. This first part, probably the market analysis. You can start now. Right. before all the other assignments piling on up. Right. And that assignment is about property valuation and investment. And the assignment 2, again, individual assignment, and give you 20% of the whole course, and due in Friday 25th October in week 12. So the gap is only 3 weeks. You submitted your first assignment in week 9, and then you have submitted your assignment 2 in week 12. So make sure you are ready for that. And this assignment is based on property management. And the final examination gives you 60% of the total course, and there's a hurdle of 40%. So you have to score 40% in the final examination. All right. This subject's assignments consist of 2 individual seminar papers, each of approximately 1,000 words. So I know you are very good at writing, but writing within the limited given word limit is very important. If you say word limit is 5,000, you will end up with 7,000 or 8,000. So try to stick with 1,000 word limit, and you can use tables, graph. The words in those do not count in word count. So use tables, graphs, and appendices if you need to do more. So try to stick with 1,000 word limits for both assignments. Right. And the assessment criteria, learning criteria, model property valuation and investment financial flows. Understand the principles and techniques of property and asset valuation and analysis. This is more about valuation and investment analysis. Understand the effect of taxation and finance on property investment and development. We will do those in probably week 6, 7. And also you need to be aware of social, legal, and economic and developmental, environmental impact of the property. Right. Assignment 2 is about property management. Once you acquire the property, you have to manage the property. So this assignment 2 is about managing the property. Right. So you will learn about understanding the principles and techniques of property and asset valuation and analysis. Understand the character and role of property management system, asset managers and portfolio management and their roles, and stakeholders, and all these things from their perspectives as well. Right. And again, beware of social, legal, economical, and environmental impact of the property. Hi. So use LMS for all the information. There are few guest lecturers coming in to the subjects. So they work in industry and they have some urgent commitments. So those timetable might be changed. So we will post everything on the LMS. And this course runs quite differently. There will be 2 lecturers, myself and Elaine. I will do 6 weeks and Elaine will do 6 weeks. Right. And you'll have 2 course coordinators as well. One is Chris Haywood. He has been coordinating this course for last around 10 years, but due to his personal commitment, he's stepped back. And Kimberly is a step up and doing subject coordinator, working as a subject coordinator. So if you have any issues, contact Kimberly, not the Chris. Right. Right. property resources and management. Have you, any of you have done a property resource analysis in your undergraduate? Property resource analysis. So this course consists of two courses. One is property resource analysis and the other one is property management. They both are undergraduate courses. With the new changes of the Bachelor of Design program, so those two courses moved to the undergraduate as one subject. We call it property resources and management. So in subject one, property resource analysis, what are we doing? What do we do with property resource analysis? Ability to decide on the most efficient way to allocate financial resources. You are a property investor. You have money. And you have questions. You are looking for investment properties. See quite a few, 2-3 office building in the market, and you need to add one office building, another office building to your investment portfolio. So what's your main question? How much you should pay for that building? And the other key question is, which property will give the best return over the intended investment period? If you are an investor, you have a specific investment period. It could be 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. And you are calculating the return of your investment property throughout the investment period. Then you decide which property would give the best return. Right? So we discussed those things in property resource analysis part. So I'll be doing this property resources analysis, probably discounted cash flows, taxation, and gearing, and all those things. Right. And then second one, property management. As I told you, Elaine will do property management with few guest lecturers. And you will focus on consideration of issues to do with commercial rather than residential property. So in this subject, we are not talking about residential property. We are talking about income generated properties, mainly commercial. Right? So this involves offices, retail businesses, industrial properties, and other sector entertainments like cinema or theme park, like that. And you'll be discussing essential elements of commercial leases, specifically Retail Lease Act 2003. It's very important when you talk about leases. Right. And then you talk about how to manage commercial investment property. Managing property is very important. As a property manager or investor, what's your biggest asset? Your tenant. You have to manage your tenant as well as your property. So how do you manage these two together? Right. Facilities management and corporate real estate management. Probably Chris will come and do the corporate real estate management lecture. Yes. As he is one of the experts in the world in corporate real estate management. I will explain what corporate real estate and what's the best ways to do it. Right. And then essential services management. Finally, sustainability consideration with commercial real estate. All right. So what we will be doing in next 12 weeks. Today, this is introduction, review of approaches to property valuation. That's what I did. And time value of money, basics, just to refresh your memory. And then next week, we will start discounted cash flow property analysis, and we will continue the same in week 3 too. Right. And in week 4, a guest lecturer will come to talk about leases, income and accommodation aspects. Right. And week 5, again, property investment analysis we talk about gearing. How do you finance your investment? How much you should borrow? 50-50, 70-30, 60-40, and how do you decide it? And then week 6, we'll talk about property investment analysis and taxation. If you are an individual investor, what's your tax rate, your personal income tax rate? And it's, if it's a company, what's the company tax rate? 30%. And if it's a trust, what's the tax rate? And how do you calculate capital gain tax? Those sort of things. And then week 7, we talk about specialized valuation. Like cinemas, movie theater, like this. And cafes in theme park or cinemas. So specialized valuation. And then we move to property management part from week 8. Retail property analysis, commercial and investment property management in week 9. Week 10, we'll discuss facility management and corporate real estate management. Week 11, sustainability in property and its management. Sustainability is a key nowadays. 10-15 years ago, no one was really talking about sustainability. Now sustainability is the key element of many things. Even in studies, there are course, degrees, masters, even in PhDs in sustainability. So it's become a key element of any field. All right, any questions so far? Introduction to time value of money. Yeah. Right. I do understand many of you have done this time value of money a few times, probably 2 times. And I do know some of you haven't done. Student from architect or planning, they haven't done anything about time value of money. So entry level is different of every student, but at the end of this course, everyone has to be at the same standard. So please tolerate if you have done this before. This is a very basic introduction to the time value of money. If you have done it before, this will be a refresher. Right? Right. $1 today is not worth $1 in years' time. Why? It's a very simple question. Why? You have done this before. Why? Exactly. It has earning power. You can invest this money and earn more. And again, another thing is inflation. If you keep that money with you in your pocket or somewhere in the house, say $100, you take that $100 after 3 years, can you buy the same amount which you could have bought today in 3 years' time? Probably not. So those are the reasons. Right. What would you choose? Someone will offer you $1,000 today and give option. Or you can get $1,500 in 3 years' time. What do you think? What do you think? Yeah, it depends. It depends. And financial perspective, what's the inflation. What's the real value of $1,500 in 3 years' time in today's value? What's the present value of $1,500? And that's a financial perspective. And again, in 3 years' time, your situation might be changed. Of course, it changes. You are a student now, and in 3 years, you'll be a professional in the industry. Now, with $1,000, what can you do? You can live for a whole month. In 3 years' time, $1,500 is a week's salary. So it's not that important. So you will rather choose $1,000 today because you can do money is important as a student. Right. In 3 years, 1,500 is not my feeling. So that's why when we do property investment analysis, we do need to consider financial aspects and other aspects as well. Right. Not only the financial. Main thing is financial, that's true, but then you have to consider the other elements as well. Social, cultural, and all the other relevant factors. Right. The idea that money available at the present time is worth more than the same amount in the future due to the potential earning capacity, as you say. The value of money you have today is different from the value of money you will receive in the future, since the money you have today can be invested and you can earn additional cash in the form of a return in investment. Therefore, the value of the money today and the value of the money in the future is different by the amount equal to the return on investment during the period. Right? That's a view. If you are new to these terms, just go through. Present value. Value at the start of the investment period. It's today's value. When you talk about discounted cash flows, that's the key thing in this subject. You'll be doing discounted cash flows. How do we represent today's value? Year 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 10. Where you can see the present value. Today's value. Year 0. What's the value today? Talking about discounted cash flow. Right. Future value. Value of the end of an investment period. Investment period, of course you know that. Annuity, a recurrent annual payment. A specific amount. It wouldn't change. What's the best example for the annuity? Loan repayment, mortgage loan repayment. Yeah. Yield, rate of return. In corporate real estate, property we talk about cap rate. The same concept, different wording. Yield or cap rate. Right, interest rate, it could be I or R. If you see I in some formulas, you will see R in some formulas, it means interest rate. It means term of years, present value. FV means future value or amount, the same meaning. PMT means periodical payments or payment. Annual sinking fund, ASF, and if you see ANN, that is annuity. Right. So we will be talking about 6 formulas mainly in the subjects. Future value of $1, present value of $1, future value of $1 per annum, and present value of $1 per annum, and then we talk about annual sinking fund and then annuity. Right. Very simple example, just to refresh your memory. What is the future value of $10,000 invested at 10% per annum for 3 years? Consider both simple interest and compounding interest rate. What does simple interest rate mean? What does simple interest mean? Interest is calculated on the original deposit only. we do not calculate interest on interest. Right? So, how do you calculate the simple interest? $10,000 multiplied by the interest rate, multiplied by the number of years. Basics. Right. Compound interest rate. We calculate interest on the capital or interest on the principal plus interest on the interest. For example, year 1, $10,000 and interest rate is 10%, interest is 1,000. And the second year, we calculate the interest on that initial interest and the previous year interest. And the third year, we calculate the interest on the principal amount plus accumulated interest. Right. So when you compare those two, you can see how much you get in simple interest and compound interest. It's obvious. But if you talk about longer period, that amount will be significantly higher. Right. Consider $1,000 invested over 40 years during both simple interest and a compounding interest rate. Longer period. How that would be. This is just example. So $100 invest in 40 years, say 30 years. 15 years, it's not much difference. 20 years, yes, slightly different. 30 years, yeah. Simple interest, you get 340. With compound interest, you get $1,006. And think about 40 years. The longer the period, compound interest will be the significant difference. Alright. The 6 financial formulas used in financial maths calculations assume that compound interest always apply. So we do not talk about simple interest. We talk about interest, we always talk about compound interest. Right? Because we are doing investment, not just simple calculations. Right. This is just to show how that formula derives. If you want to go through end of year 1, end of year 2, end of year 3, how do you get that formula? $1,000 plus 10% on $1,000. That's the first year. Then the second year, 1,100 plus 1,000 interest on that 1,100. And the third year, interest on principal plus accumulated interest. So the formula comes initial principal amount, $1,000, and then interest. Right. Simply, the formula is future value formula is future value of $1. The formula is present value multiplied by 1 plus I into the power n. Right. This should be into the power here. Right. Example. Previous question. What would you choose? $1,000 today, which can be invested at 8% per annum, compounding for 3 years, or $1,500 in 3 years' time. So you get $1,000 today and you invest it. The interest rate is 8%. Or you can get $1,500 in 3 years' time. So if you invest $1,000 in 3 years at the rate of 8%, you will get $1,259.70. So obviously 1,500 in 3 years' time is better in financial terms. But in your personal circumstances, it might be your selection will be different. Right? You know, in 3 years time I'll be better off with finance. Now I really need money, so I'll get the $1,000 now, right? Right, I'll go through this quickly. Present value of $1. We talk about future value, now we talk about present value. I'll go through quickly. I know most of you have done this, so I'll go through quickly. Present value of $1 finds the present value of a future lump sum. It assumes that the present value amount would need to have been invested at the start of the set period at a fixed interest rate, and the interest earned would have been compounded. We know how much we'll get, and we need to calculate the present value of that future sum. That's what we do. That's what we mostly do in discounted cash flows. Right? Formula of present value equal future value divided by 1 plus I into the power 8. Right. So present value versus future value. So in present value, in future value we calculate the future amount. Say for $100, in 3 years time we'll get 133. That's compounding. And what we do in discounting, we get the future value into today's value. We calculate the present value of future value. So that's what we call discounting. We do those discounting very often in discounted cash flow. Alright. Same thing. Find the future value of $1,000 lump sum invested for 5 years period at 10% per annum. So $1,000, 5 years, 10% future value. Simple. 1,610. Simple calculation. Another example. If you are new from planning or architecture, please go through this and ask any question. Right? Find future value of $1,000 lump sum invested for a 5-year period at 8% per annum. Compounding interest. Present value is $1,000, number of years 5 years, interest rate is 8%, and how much is the future value? You get $1,489. This is the formula. Future value equal present value in multiplied by 1 plus I into the power n. Interest rate make a difference. 8%, the same amount, $1,000 in 5 years, 8% give you 1,469, 10% give you 1,610. When you do the discounting, it's the same thing will happen the other way around. That's what I'm going to show this here. Now it's discounting. How much would need to be invested now at 8% per annum for 5 years in order to be worth $1,000 at the end of the period? So you need specific amount in future years. You know the interest rate, and you need to calculate how much you need to invest. Present value. How much you need to invest today to get the certain amount in future. You know that amount, what amount you need. How much is that? $1,000. Future value is $1,000. 5 years time at the rate of 8%, and how much you need to invest. This is the formula. Present value equal future value divided by 1 plus I into the power n. So you need to invest $680.60 to get $1,000 in 5 years time at the rate of 8%. Another example with a different rate. How much would need to be invested now at 10% per annum for 5 years in order to be worth $1,000 at the end of the period? Future value is $1,000. 5 years time, interest rate is 10%. Present value, how much is the present value? Use the formula. So it will be $620.90. Right. So compare the present value amount required to invest at a different interest rate in order to have $1,000 at the end of the 5 years. What is trying to say? Its interest rate make a difference. If the interest rate is higher, in future value, you get higher value. If the interest rate is higher in present value, you get a lower value. Right. Hope you got it. Right. Look at these two formulas. Have you noticed anything? If you can remember one formula, you can make the other one. You don't have to remember both formulas. Right. Future value equal present value multiplied by 1 plus I into the power n. So this is the formula to calculate the present future value. And now we need to calculate the present value. So just twist this formula around. Leave the present value here and get this part to this side. So it will come under. So future value divided by 1 plus I into the power n. Okay. So you don't need to remember both formulas. Just remember one and you can make the other one. Clear? Yes. Right. Future value of $1 per annum. We discussed future value of $1, present value of $1. Now future value of $1 per annum. The future value of $1 per annum finds the future value of an annual payment invested each year of a period at a fixed interest rate. So in this case, per annum means we invest the same amount every year. It assumes interest earned each year as well as the annual payment is added to the total from the previous year before the next year's interest is calculated. So you invest $1,000 and the following year you have to calculate the interest on that $1,000 plus interest on $1,000 to this year's $1,000. Interest on initial deposit and its interest and the new deposit. Present value per annum means you deposit every year. Right. The formula is future value equal payment. How much the annual payment? Multiply by 1 plus I into the power n minus 1 and divided by interest rate. Example. At the end of year 1, at the end of the year, at the end of this year, I managed to save $1,000. If I invest this in a bank at a 10%, and at the end of each year, I add another $1,000, how much will I have at the end of 8 years? This is the formula. Therefore, what is the future value of the annual payment of $1,000 for 8 years at the 10% interest? Apply the formula. That's all you need to. So you have to remember the formulas. I have seen in previous exam papers, you get a question on present value of this sort of thing, time value of money. Not quite sure this time. I haven't thought about it, but it would be important, right? So apply these figures to the formula. And the important thing is the bracket. If you didn't do the bracket in the right place, you'll get the wrong figures. Right? So make sure you put the bracket in the right place. Right. So how much you will get at the end of the 8 years? You'll get $11,435.89. Right. Annual sinking fund. Next one. What is annual sinking fund mean? What is annual sinking fund? Why do we need annual sinking fund? How do you use annual sinking fund effectively? See, you are an asset manager, and you are managing one large office building, and you have all the schedules and everything, lifts, HVAC system, and elevators and everything, and you realize the HVAC system need to be replaced in 10 years time. Will cost say $800,000. As an asset manager, you can't wait until it happens last moment. Since you know it's due in 10 years time, you have to plan. So 800,000 in one item is a big amount. So you have to plan. To create 800,000 to replace that existing HVAC system, how much money we need to save every year to create that fund of 800,000? How much money we have to put aside every year? That's what we use. That's where we use annual sinking fund. So we need a specific amount in future, and we need to calculate how much money we need to put aside to create that much amount in future. So when the expenditure is due, we can use that sinking fund money to replace it. So annual sinking fund is a regular annual payment that must be deposited into a financial institution at a fixed interest rate in order to have a required future value at the end of that period. It assumes any interest earned as well as annual payment will be compounded, of course. Formula for annual sinking fund is future value multiplied by interest divided by 1 plus I into the power n minus 1. So you need to remember these ones. Right. Example. Try to do this example. So otherwise you'll be sleepy. I know you have done this before. You are a property manager and some cooling towers need to be replaced in 5 years. If they will cost $10,000, how much is required to be put aside annually to pay for the replacement with interest accrued annually at 10% per annum? This is the formula. So how much you need to put aside every year? Tell me. How much did you put aside? This is basic, I understand, but we need to do this. Did it? How much do you need to? you need to put $1,638 per annum every year. All right? Correct? All right. Now, look at these two formulas. Comparing the present value of $1 per annum with the annual sinking fund payment. Future value equal amount annual payment multiplied by 1 plus I into the power n minus I divided by n I. So if you remember this formula, you can twist this around and create the annual sinking fund formula. See, this part, 1 plus I into the power n minus 1, this whole part is here. Right. So two different wording, two different meanings, but the same. When you use that in the formula, it works the same way. Payment and annual sinking fund. Annual sinking fund is also annual payment. Right. So right, got it? Good. If you're confused, don't worry. Just look at these two formulas when you get home and try to find the similarities and make it easier. All right. Here are three questions. For each of the following three questions, write the appropriate formula and solve the problem. Just to refresh, otherwise you will be sleeping. Right. Mr. Magu has purchased a house with a galvanized iron roof, which must be replaced in 20 years at a cost of $8,000. How much money should he set aside in his bank savings account with a rate of 4% in order to have $8,000 in 20 years? The second one, if Mrs. Perfect will receive $100,000 per annum in net rent from an investment property for 10 years, what will it be worth at the end of this period if invested at 10% per annum? And Mr. Happy deposited $10,000 with an insurance company when he was 30 years old, intending to withdraw the deposit together with the accumulated or compounded interest at an agreed rate of 4% when he reached 50. What sum should he have available at the end of the 50 years? Take 5 minutes. So this is the scenario, simple scenarios, and identify what's happening, which formula that you should use, and get the answer. What is the first one? Very simple. I just want to do that. Any question you can ask me. If it's percentage, you put the whole amount at the beginning and you wait for the interest to build up. But in a question, how much you had to put aside every year?
Where is
As I
that
said,
idea? Yeah. So I just do this. Very good question. How much money should he set
yeah.
aside every year?
Right. I'll make it clear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What are you going to do?
Better. Better, huh? Good. Well spotted. So what's the formula you could use for the first one?
Yes, sir.
Annual sinking fund.
Yeah.
And for the second one? Future value. Very good. And for the third one? Again, future value. Yeah. All right. You know the formulas. You know the numbers. You can calculate the answer. All right. Two more formulas to go. I'll go through quickly. Present value of $1 per annum. The present value of $1 per annum finds the present value of an annual payment invested each year of a set period at a fixed interest rate. Example, finding the value of a loan taken today which corresponds to a particular annual repayment for a set time at a fixed rate. So we pay or we receive specific amount every year with a specific interest rate. say for 5 years or 10 years, say 10 years. And we calculate the present value of all of them today. That's what we do in discounted cash flows. We start next week. The formula for that is payment multiply 1 divided by interest plus interest divided by 1 plus I into the power n minus 1, or you can use this formula. There are few different formulas. If you are familiar with different one, fine, you can use that. I don't want you to use specifically this one, but as long as you get the answer, fine. These are two different presentations, two different formulas to get the same. Right? Right, example. If you had an investment property and you receive $25,000 per annum as rental income, and if you hold this property for 10 years, what is the present value of this income today discounted at 10%? If you had an investment property, you have an investment property, you receive $25,000 per annum as a rental income, and you're going to hold this property for 10 years, and what is the present value of this income? Discount rate is 10%. Can you calculate it, please? Let's slowly come to the valuation. Annual income, we say net annual income after all the expenditure. You receive net rent 25,000, and you are planning to keep this property for 10 years with you. After that, you're going to sell it, and discount rate is 10%. And what is the present value of that property? What is the present value of that property? This is the formula. This is the formula. Oopsie. And you apply that formula to calculate it. How much is that? 153,614. Did you get the same figure? Right. What is that? Present value. In investment terms or in valuation terms, what is that? This is the value of that property. This is the value of that property. If you want a 10% yield or 10% return, you should not pay more than that. Right? So that's the value of the property simply with a 10% discount rate. In this case, we say your expected return is 10%. That's your required rate of return. And then you only should pay 153,640, not more than that. If you pay more than that, your return will be less than 10%. Right. Last one, annuity payment. An annuity payment is a regular payment for a set period which corresponds to a present value lump sum invested for that same set period at a fixed interest rate. Example, finding the annual loan repayment corresponding to a loan amount today for a set time at a fixed rate. We frequently deal with project whose cash flow follows a special pattern. Right. For best example is a loan repayment, mortgage repayment. Right. It's like annuity. You pay a specific amount, specific day every year throughout the period. The equal payments over a number of years. An annuity represents a series of equal payment or receipts occurring over a specific number of period. And the key thing is here, there are two annuities. Ordinary annuity and annuity due. Payments or receipts occur at the end of each period we call ordinary annuity. Right? If that payment due at the end of the period, we call ordinary annuity. If you just talk about annuity, that's ordinary annuity. If you heard about annuity due, it means you pay that annuity at the beginning of the year. You pay that installment at the end of the year. So you had to use a different formula. Right? And even in the calculator, you had to change your format when you calculate the payment at the beginning. Calculator is normally set to calculate the payment at the end of the year. If you want to calculate payment at the end of at the beginning of the year, you have to change the format, mode of the calculator. Sorry. All right, this is the formula: annuity, present value, multiplied by interest plus interest divided by 1 plus into the power 1 plus I into the power n minus 1. For annuity due, this is the formula. All right, break the ice. Example. You need $250,000 to buy a new house. The bank has agreed to fund 95% of the value at a 10% rate of interest over 15 years. What are your annual payment? And this is the formula. So what is your annual payment? What is your annuity? How much you need to pay annually throughout the 15 years? And you have the formula. Can you calculate it? Please. Present value multiplied by interest plus interest divided by 1 plus I into the power n minus 1. So what's the annuity? Yep. Done. Is it 31,165 and 50 cents? How much is it? Did you get 95% or 100%? Yes. Yeah. Good. My mistake. Yeah. It was 31,170. Is that? Okay. Yeah. Could be around that. 31,170, something like that. Yeah. It doesn't know it better. Alright, fine. Alright, you got the point. Good. Let's calculate a 95% because you are borrowing 95%, not the 100%. Right. The house is 250,000 and bank has agreed to fund 95,000. Sorry, 95%, sorry, not 100%. So how much the 95% of 250,000? And that's a loan amount. And then put that amount into the formula, right? Not the 250,000. All right. Comparing present value with annuity payment formulas. Look at those two formulas. Any similarities? Annuity equal present value multiplied by how is set. The same part of the formula has to this one. So now you need to calculate the present value. What you need to do, get this part underneath of the annuity. Twist this formula around, right? This is the formula for formula to calculate the annuity. And when you need to calculate the present value, you need to get this part to the other side. So this is multiplication here, and it should be divided when you turn it. So present value equal payment divided by this whole part. So you only need to remember one formula, then you can twist it around to get the other formula. Clear? Yeah. All right. 6 financial formulas. These are present value, future value of $1 per annum, annual sinking fund, present value of $1 per annum, annuity payment. That's what we discussed so far. Those are inverse functions, forward and backwards. Right. Similarly, you can convert these formulas easily to find out the other one. All right, 3 sets of inverse functions. The first in each set involves compounding, and the second involves discounting. Each formula has 4 variables, 1 unknown and 3 unknown, of course. And of the 3 unknown variables, there are two are always the interest and blah, blah, blah. Simple. All right. This is pretty basic. When faced with the problem, use the following steps. Identify the unknown variable. What you are asked to do, that's a key thing. Future value, present value, or annuity, or annual sinking fund, and it's an annual payment, or the one-off payment. If it is every year, then per annum, or annuity, like that. Simply. All right, that's the refreshing, but I am planning to discuss your assignment as well, briefly. Right. I know most of you have done time value of money in other courses, but still, it's a requirement to do it in those in these classes as well. All right. Property resources and management. Supplement on assignment. Important. Let me talk about assignment 1 first. Again, the due date is 27th, Friday the 27th September, week 9. So again, don't wait till last moment. These are the learning criteria I have already discussed. Assessing your assessment. Right, you can go through this. So I'll go through. Again, assessing your assignment. Assignment will be evaluated on the depth of understanding of principles that you demonstrate on your written work and should include accurate computations, clear, concise, and relevant description and discussion of pertinent materials. Right. A demonstration and communication of your interpretation and understanding of the material together with an originality of approach and integration of concept and practice to the problem will gain higher grades. You can just do it to get the pass mark. If you meet all the assessment criteria, yes, you will pass. But to get the higher grade, you need the higher quality. Right? That's what it says. The content of the assignment is important, but as a professional or potential property and construction advisor, great importance is also attached to the quality of the oral and written presentation. Always imagine that you are a professional property advisor who places vital importance on the professionalism and image. So I have seen many assignments. Calculations are accurate. Perfect, but the presentation is not really good. So at the beginning, assignments brief says you are making this assignment for your client, right? It's not just for yourself or someone in your staff. It's for a client. Then it has to be a professional presentation. So make sure you keep that presentation up to the standard. So your client is making $1 million investment based on your report. Right. Think about that. Right. Your client is making a decision of $1 million completely based on your report. If it is in a real world situation. So it just right calculation is not enough. The client has to have a confidence on your report. Client should be able to trust you. So professionalism is important. Right. A well-prepared type report, free of spelling errors, that's what I mean. Grammatical mistakes is an essential requirement of assignment submission. Fine. The material you submit must be completed and must not assume a level of knowledge on the part of the reader that could not be reasonably accepted. Yeah, you are presenting this report to the person who has no understanding of the financial or property valuation or investment details. So explain. What does that mean? What these figures mean? These are the grade system, grade scales. I don't want any of you to get this one. Right. Assignment submission requirement. Format of submission. This pretty regular one, you know all of them. And word of advice. Remember to keep your assignment this is for the old one. Backup your assignments. Even the last semester, a student told me my file corrupted. The day before the submission. So I don't know what he did at the end. He dealt with the course coordinator, subject coordinator. So please make sure you back up your work. Late submission, important. You are expected to be business-like in ensuring that assignments are submitted by the due dates. Please submit on time. If you really think you will not be able to make due to unforeseen circumstances beyond your control, so then get the special consideration before the due date. Right? And neither heavy workload in other subjects nor holiday will be accepted as a reasons for the late submission. Don't say I want to go on holiday, family holiday, or I'm doing 3 other courses. So those will not be a reasonable, good reasons to get extension. Right. If you do late submission, there will be penalties, 10% per day. So if you 2 weeks or 10 days, just forget it. You won't get any marks. Right. So make sure you submit on time. Even before the submission date is completely fine. And avoid plagiarism. Please cite whatever you got from the other sources. Right. All offenders suffers copiers and copiers, so be warned. Right, let's go to the assignment. Brief for assignments. Background information. Do you have enough time? Yeah, I'll go briefly. Background information. You are a property consultant working as a part of an Australian property consultancy firm specializing in valuation, investment advice, and asset management. Your firm has been approached for advice by an investor client interested in the purchase of an office building in Melbourne Commercial District. The request relates to 2 phases of property investment. There are 2 phases. Phase 1 is the assignment 1. Phase 2 is the assignment 2. So we just focus on phase 1 at the moment. So phase 1 means assignment 1. Pre-purchase advice regarding the property's current market value and the potential of the property to achieve sustained return. Based on your advice on these 2 issues, they will then be able to make a decision on whether to purchase the subject property and therefore include it in their investment portfolio. They already have a few other properties and they want to add another property into their portfolio. A report is expected from your consultancy firm showing sound knowledge and rigorous analysis and professional advice about the subject property within the context of the Melbourne office market. Assignment 2, post-purchase advice regarding management of the subject office building and 1 other asset class in their portfolio. Right. Information about the client. Profile of the client. Your client is a property investment company with a portfolio of investment under management of Australian dollars 10 billion. Reasonable size portfolio, 10 billion. With exposure to commercial real estate across Australia and US in major urban areas, in CBDs.
The average total annual return for the past 3 financial years has been positive 6.6. This is for the last 3 financial years. And the average total annual return for the past 5 financial years has been positive 10%. So last 10 years it has been a very good return, which is 10%, and last 3 years it's 6.6. Not performing very well, could be market condition. It is an aim for long-term average return to be at least consistent with the 5-year average and provide investors with a high quality investment vehicle. So the client need a 10% return in long term. So at least, it means, and this subject property should give at least 10% return. Right? At least. 1.3. Hypothetical property details for discounted cash flow valuation and investment analysis. The property. The property to be valued comprises a 12-level car park and office complex leased to a 4-tenant as detailed in the attached spreadsheet. It's here below. Highlight. That. Lease. Dispute. All tenants pay rental and outgoings annually in arrears. It means at the end of the year. Right. Outgoing for the year ending 30th June 2019 total $80 per square meter per annum. That's the outgoing for the year ending 30th June 2019. $80 per square meter per annum. The car park tenant has no liability to pay outgoings. The car park area is not included in the calculations of the landlord's outgoings either. The gross leases also allow the landlord to recover some of his outgoings. The amount recoverable equates to $20 per square meter per annum as at 30th June 2019. All tenants vacant at a lease expiry when the lessor spends $60 per square meter to be indexed by CPI on upgrade works to make the accommodation relatable. Right. So this $60 per square meter in today, 30th June 2019. If the tenants leave the building property in 3 years' time, you need to increase this $80 by CPI, means Consumer Price Index. Right? All tenancies are then relet on the net lease basis at market rent. So then they will change the lease structure. At the moment is a gross. Is it gross? Semi-gross, I would say. All tenants, and then it will be net lease. All tenancies are then relet on the net lease basis at market rate, with a recovery of all outgoings. The lease term is for 5 years with market review every 2 years. Lease term is for 5 years with market review every 2 years. So you had to make different schedules for these ones. No rat chat. What does rat chat mean? Rat chat clauses. Have you heard about rat chat clauses in lease agreement? There are some agreements. A landlord increase the rent according to the market rate, or 5% every year. But when a market rent goes down, it doesn't reduce the rent. We call upward only review. Upward only rent review. It means rent review is only if the rent is increased. If the market rent goes down, it doesn't reduce the rent. Right? The tenant has to pay the higher rent than the market rent. That's what we call ratchet clause. Normally in the lease agreement it's called upward only rent review. Right? We call ratchet clause. Such that the rent may rise, no ratchet. It means no ratchet. Such that rent may rise or fall on review. Ignore leasing fees and rent review fees. Allow 1 year to re-let space. So allow 1 year to re-let space means vacancy period is 1 year. The property will require annual capital expenditure of $100,000 each year and an additional $1.5 million capital expenditure in June 2022. Each to be indexed by Consumer Price Index. So this 100,000 in today's value, 30th June 2019. So each year you need to increase this by CPI, Consumer Price Index. Right. These amounts are valid as at 30th June 2019. Right. So this 1.5 million is also in today's value. So today is 2019 and you had to increase this by CPI for how many years? For 3 years. Right? 2020, 21, 22. Because this capital expenditure comes in 2022. Right. These amounts are valid as at 30th June 2019 and would therefore apply at the first year of ownership. Right. The hypothetical A-grade office building is located at 500 Collins Street. There is a building at 500 Collins Street. This is a different building. We don't have all the information. That building is a high-rise building and it will be too complicated for you. So this building is 12-story building is just a hypothetical building. Right. That's what it says. The total site area is 2,813 square meters. For the purpose of this study, we have used the hypothetical building specified here to replace the existing building that is currently located on that site. Right. The zoning is Capital City Zone 1. Frontage 34.7 meters to Collins Street, 27.9 meters to Little Collins Street. Site area is 2,813 square meters. It is assumed title details include standard information for CBD commercial building. Right. The market. The open market net face rental value of each section of the property as at 30th June 2019 may be summarized as follows. Now, car parks, $250 per space per calendar month. $250 per space per calendar month. Office, all floors, $500 per meter per annum. $500 per square meter. This is just simplified. Normally the office building, if you go higher, the rent goes up. Right? So this is just to simplify. Forecast growth is consumer price index growth 3%, outgoing growth 4% per annum, market rental growth 6% per annum. The appropriate discount rate is 10% at June 2019. See, the reason here is that tenant, this shouldn't have been here. Because it says tenant needs a long-term return of 10%. So at least it means this building at least should give 10% return, otherwise it's not worth. This building doesn't meet his required return. So it should be at least 10%. So that's why it says IRR is 10% at June 2019. So I would say this is appropriate discount rate is 10% at June 2019. Acquisition cost equal to 5% and disposal cost equal to 3%. Use 8% for the terminal capitalization rate. Acquisition cost equal to 5%. When you buy the building, you have to pay 5% of legal, stamps, duty, and agent fees and everything. And disposal cost means sales cost. When you sell the building, there are costs involved with that. So that would be around 3% of the sales price. And use 8% for the terminal capitalization rate. So terminal cap rate will be 8%. That will help you to calculate the sale value. Right. So if your investment period is 10 years, you have to calculate the income. You have to calculate the discounted cash flow for the 11th year to get the net operating income. And divided that 11th year net operating income by this terminal cap rate, 8%. Then you will get the sale price. Clear? Right. This is the schedule. Get the printout and read it. Flows, net lettable area. These are next rent review and everything is here. Rent review basis, gross net. All tenants are still in gross lease. New tenants are in net lease. Right. Background information. During a preliminary meeting to receive a briefing from the client, it is evident that the client is interested in the property's current market value. So you have to calculate the current market value. And the potential of the property to achieve sustained return. Based on your advice on these two issues, they will then be able to make a decision on whether to purchase on subject property and therefore include it in their investment portfolio. So based on your report, so you have to do the valuation report to calculate the value. Right. And based on your return, client is interested in property's current market value and the potential of the properties to achieve sustained return. Current value and the future income. Based on your advice on these two, I told you, right? A report is expected from your consultancy firm showing sound knowledge and research, rigid analysis and professional advice about the subject property within the context of Melbourne office market. So, first part of the report, what is that? What should include in the first part of the report? Market analysis. So it should discuss a Melbourne office market. At the preliminary meeting, one of the directors of your company suggested 3 main components to be focused on the required report. That's your focus now, right? This is 1, 2, 3, right? Focus 1. Research and investigation on the state of economics and the CBD office property market. This section should be brief, perhaps several paragraphs, but should provide a valuable context for your final conclusion and advice on whether to proceed with the property investment purchase or not. So that's the market analysis. What is the market at the moment and what will be the market in the future? What's the demand for the offices? What's the vacancy rate? What's the vacancy rate at the moment? What will be the vacancy rate in the future? Supply analysis and demand analysis. Briefly. Any more similar grade buildings coming into the market? So what will happen to the vacancy rate then? Sort of things. So it's a market analysis. This will require you to review the current day-to-day literature, including media, for example, Australian Financial Review and the Australian newspapers, especially the property part, property section, and investment reports. Example, John Lang, LaSalle JLL, and CBRE, and Chartered Cake, Kramer, etc. There are different, what's the other one? There are different reports. These reports can be found on their company's websites, probably every quarter. Those are quarterly reports, mainly. So you can get valuable information of the market, current market condition. So you are to record the changes in your market at least during semester 2. It means this semester. For the best results, you should extend your research back to the financial year, back to 2 financial years. It's 2017, 2018, 2018, 19. Yeah. Your second focus, a market valuation of the existing property using income valuation methodology. Specifically, the discounted cash flow approach over 10-year period. So your investment period will be 10 years and make a discounted cash flow for the 10 year and calculate the value of the property. Note that due to a commercial data restriction, some property information is provided based on hypothetical office buildings and assumptions accordingly. Right? And your third focus should be on an after-tax investment analysis producing both an internal rate of return and net present value for this potential property purchase over a proposed 10-year ownership period. So tax, we will be discussing tax on probably week 6 or 7. Up to that, you can finish those things. You can start market analysis now while you don't have much work on other assignments. So, yeah. Valuation methods. Valuation should be undertaken by the discounted cash flow methods over 10-year period. The DCF is to be undertaken as at 30th June 2019. That's the valuation date. Right. That's a year 0. Today's value. Then first year will be 30th June 2020. 1st July 2019 to 30th June 1st July 2019 to 30th June 2020. That's the first year. Right. Important assumption. Assume that the passing rent for each tenant is listed in the tenancy schedule is for the first year of ownership. That is for the period up to 30th June. Right. Report requirement. report requirement. Please do make sure you have these elements in your report. One, a brief description on the state of the economic and the CBD office property market, simply the market analysis. Right. The second one is the valuation component. A valuation report and detailed cash flow valuation over 10-year period. Right. Make sure you include these ones. Instruction, location, brief description, basis and purpose of valuation. These are important part of valuation report. Important parts of the valuation report. A date of valuation, site particular, zoning, tenancy schedules and relevant assumptions. What happens when the current lease expires? Open market trends in 2019. Assumptions concerning forecast growth, valuation methodology and valuation. And third part of your report should be the investment analysis component. Right, that's the third part. An investment report and detailed cash flow of the same above mentioned hypothetical office building, assuming it will be purchased at the valuation amount determined in section 2. In addition, your client plans to finance the purchase in the following way. They have cash amounting to 20% of the purchase price, which will be used as equity, and a first mortgage can be secured for 5 years. They only have 20% cash. So then you have to borrow money. Right. How can you borrow money? How much you can borrow? You will need to establish a proportion of the purchase price that you will be able to borrow and the rate of interest applicable to the first mortgages via some research with financial institutions. In addition, you will need to make some assumptions about what happens to the interest of the loan after 5 years rollover period. Are you paying another interest-only loan, or you pay the loan repayment with the principal amount for the second 5 years? The balance of the purchase price and purchase expenses is to be financed by bank overdraft. Right. So you have, how much you have? You only have 20%. For example, if you could borrow 70%, the purchase price of the first mortgage, and you have sufficient fund for 20%, and you are short of 10%. So your overdraft would be 10% for the purchase price plus purchase cost. So overdraft is it's not a very good option, because the interest rate is quite high on overdraft. Right? That should be the last option. So, but still, you could use overdraft. Alright. You are to assume the building is in as a new condition and comprises 60% of the total property value. This comes to taxation again. Building condition is very good. Value of the total property, say it's 100%, 60% is the building value, 40% for the land value. In addition, 55% of the value of the building, 55% value of the building is to be considered as capital work. So, capital work can be tax deductible. You can get capital work, capital allowances for the capital work of the building. Right. So 55% of the 60%. Is it too much? Explaining at this moment? So 55% of the 60% is claimable. You can claim as a tax deduction, capital allowances. Right? So property value, 60% of the property value is building value, and 55% of that 60% can claim as capital allowances. Right. Capital works, and there are 3 different types of plant which together make up the remaining 45% of the building value. Then remaining 45% of the building is plants, and then you can claim depreciation on those plants. Depreciation and capital works allowances. Right. You should use this information to assist you in calculating the capital work allowances as well as the broad depreciation allowances for plant and equipment. The same forecast growth rate for the various factors such as CPI, outgoings, market rent, etc. as applied in the valuation also applies here in the investment analysis. Right. You are to calculate the after finance and after tax cash flow to ascertain both the net present value and the return on equity invested. This is not IRR, this is return on equity. How much is equity? 20%. 20% the amount you had. So how much return you get on your 20%? That's called return on equity invested. Right. This is an internal rate of return calculation differently. Comment on your results having regard to some sort of benchmark such as the 10-year bond rate or current market return for similar investments. In addition, this would be prudent to consider the investor's required rate of return. Alright, your report should be presented as a complete yet brief investment report and should include the following subheading. These ones. Alright, I'll stop here. Otherwise I can feel like you are overwhelming. Alright, just go through the assignment brief. We'll discuss again in later days. In detail. So you can start market analysis. You don't need any future lessons to do that. You can start with market analysis and complete the market analysis. So it takes time. You need to go through all the market reports and reports from property. All right. Thank you so much for coming. And no tutorials today. And we will start tutorials next week. See you again.